The resonance of stillness on Kronos 4, a city trapped in a perpetual explosion. The synesthete must stop Echo Null from erasing the concept of time itself, an act that would cause the frozen supernova to resume and obliterate reality. High above the white-hot core of a dying star, Kronos 4 balanced on the edge of eternity. The city was a sprawling network of crystalline spires and gravity-defying bridges, all suspended within the frozen fraction of a second when a sun becomes a supernova. To any normal eye, the sky was a terrifying explosion of orange and violet. Fire, stilled by an ancient temporal field. But to Kellen, the hero known as the synesthete, the sky was a chorus. He stood upon the highest balcony of the chronometric cathedral, his fingers tracing the air as if playing an invisible harp. The synesthete, the heat is a C-sharp, vibrating through the static. Can you hear it, the way the light hums against the glass? His hands left trails of glowing cyan light that solidified into floating triangles, each one vibrating in harmony with the distant solar flares. A sudden, unnatural chill swept across the promenade, and the vibrant music of the sky began to sour. The brilliant oranges faded to a sickly, matte gray, and the humming plasma fell silent as if the universe had forgotten how to vibrate. From the growing patch of monochrome shadows stepped Echo Null. He was a void in the shape of a man, his cloak trailing ribbons of nothingness that seemed to swallow the light around him. Echo Null, this moment is too loud, Kellen. It is a scream that has lasted 10,000 years. It is time for Kronos for to experience the peace of the unthought. Where Null walked, the very architecture of the city began to lose its detail, smoothing over into featureless gray blocks. Null raised a slender, translucent hand toward the horizon. He didn't fire a beam or launch a projectile. He simply closed his fist. Instantly, the kilometer of space between the cathedral and the city gates vanished. The synesthete staggered as the world buckled. Echo Null, I have consumed the resonance of distance. There is no far anymore. There is only here, and there is only me. The synesthete tried to summon a shield of solid frequency, but his light flickered and died. The concept of space was failing him. The synesthete, you think you can just delete the dimensions of the world? Everything has a rhythm, Null. Even the gaps between atoms. Kellen struck his heavy bronze bracer with his palm, creating a sharp metallic ring that cut through the stifling silence. He focused on that single note, visualizing it as a structural foundation. From the sound, a series of rotating gold dodecahedrons erupted, interlocking to form a shimmering barrier between him and the villain. The synesthete, geometry is the language of the universe. It doesn't need a map to find you. It is the map. The golden constructs pulsed with the frequency of a heartbeat, pushing back the encroaching gray fog. For a moment, the color returned to the stones of the cathedral, driven by the sheer mathematical willpower of the hero. Echo Null laughed, a sound like glass breaking in a vacuum. It wasn't a noise so much as the memory of a noise. You fight for the how of things, Kellen, but I control the why. Null reached out and touched one of the golden dodecahedrons. It didn't shatter. It simply lost its purpose. The light turned dull, and the geometric precision softened into a useless, gelatinous blob that slid to the floor. Echo Null, I have just consumed the concept of purpose. Why does your shield exist? Why do you stand? Why does the star stay still? Kellen felt a wave of crushing apathy. His knees buckled as the very idea of heroism began to feel absurd and empty. The synesthete gasped, his vision blurring. He looked up at the supernova, that monstrous, beautiful explosion held in place by sheer temporal force. If Null erased the purpose of the stasis field, reality would end. Kellen forced himself to hum not a melody, but a primal, discordant shriek that mimicked the chaotic roar of the solar flares. The sound manifested as jagged shards of obsidian light, vibrating so fast they blurred the synesthete. The universe wasn't born from purpose. It was born from a bang. It was born from chaos. The shards flew forward, tearing through Null's mantle and drawing a spray of white conceptual essence. Null hissed, the sound of a dying fire. He clutched his chest, then looked at Kellen with a terrifying clarity. You love your sounds so much. Let us see how you fare in a world without them. Null threw his arms wide, and a wave of absolute negation surged outward. I erased the concept of sound. Suddenly, the world went dead. Kellen opened his mouth to shout, but no air vibrated. He struck his bracer, but there was no ring. The golden light and the obsidian shards vanished instantly. He was a painter without color, a musician in a world without ears. Null stepped forward, his hand reaching for Kellen's throat in the heavy, oppressive silence. Echo Null dialogue appeared as text in the air. Now, you are just a ghost in a silent city, forgotten before you are even gone. Kellen didn't panic. He closed his eyes and felt the vibrations in his very bones. Light and sound were just different frequencies of the same cosmic energy. He focused on the visual vibrations of the frozen supernova, the way the light danced in the stillness. He began to sing with his eyes, translating the visual patterns into a silent, internal rhythm. He formed a new construct, not from sound, but from the silence Null had created. He built a cage of negative space geometry, a prison made of the very void Null wielded, the synesthete, communicating through pulses of blinding white light. If there is no sound, then the silence itself becomes the melody. The void cage snapped shut around Echo Null. Because it was crafted from the absence of resonance, Null could not consume it. He was trapped by the very nothingness he had brought to Kronos for. The colors bled back into the sky, the oranges and purples returning in a triumphant rush. The G major chord of the supernova returned to Kellen's ears, sweeter and louder than ever before. Null's form flickered and shrank, becoming a small, silent orb of inert glass. Kellen picked it up, watching the miniature storm of great wrapped inside. The synesthete. This moment is still ours. Every second is a song worth protecting, even the ones that have no words. He stood alone on the spire, the conductor of a frozen eternity, listening to the music of the sun. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more stories like this, make sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, stay super.